I'm officially dating an older man, and it has been 2 months. And these are some of the things that I have noticed that have been absolutely fantastic. Do older men hit different? And let me tell you something. I would say yes. It's very different in a positive way.
Younger women don't just date older men for their money. I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself. And people are always asking, what is it about an older man? What do you like about an older man? And I'm here to tell you. They usually have more traditional values and roles, and so chivalry is real.
What you looking for? We got what you looking for. What you looking for? We got what you looking for. What you looking for?
They say she wants him for his money. And sometimes that's true. Let's be honest. Stability has always been attractive, but it's not just about the money itself. It's about what the money represents. Security, direction, a man who's not guessing where his life is going because he already built it. Younger women don't just want comfort, they want certainty. And in a world full of temporary men and temporary attention, certainty feels like luxury. See, social media made everyone look rich, confident, and desirable, but it also made everything feel fake. So, when she meets a man whose confidence is real, whose calm doesn't need a camera, it hits differently. Older men don't just bring money, they bring meaning. They bring masculine energy that isn't forced, it's earned. Because experience gives a man something youth can't, emotional gravity. And that gravity pulls her in, not because she's weak, but because she's tired of pretending that she doesn't need to feel safe. Younger women are growing up in a world that celebrates independence, but quietly punish vulnerability. They've seen how online freedom can still feel lonely at night. So, when they meet a man who makes them feel held instead of compared, that's not manipulation, that's chemistry. This isn't about sugar daddies or gold diggers. It's about polarity, the balance that's disappearing. And in a time where everyone is trying to act masculine, the man who truly is becomes unforgettable. So, yes, sometimes it's about the lifestyle, but more often it's about what comes with it: discipline, direction, decision made with purpose instead of pride. Because younger women aren't just comparing men, they're comparing eras. They see how older men move slower, speak less, but mean more. How they traded ego for emotional control, and how that control feels like safety in a world that's constantly unstable.
For those girls who call themselves liking older guys and they want to date men that's older than them. Sis, the men are strict. They don't play.
Younger men grew up online, chasing trends, clout, and connection through screens. Older men lived before the noise. They've learned connection through consistency. And that difference changes everything. Because when a woman finally meets a man who doesn't need her attention to feel valuable, she starts to value her own peace differently. That's not just attraction, that's polarity. That's why younger women are still drawn to older men, not because of what he has, but because of what the world took away from everyone else. You can feel it instantly. The difference between a man who's been tested and a man who's just getting started. Younger men move fast. They live in a loop of constant stimulation, short videos, quick replies, instant validation. Everything comes easy, and that's exactly why nothing stays. Older men move different. They've already learned that not every fight needs a reaction, and not every woman needs convincing. Their confidence doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from knowing who they are when no one is watching. That's what younger women feel, even if they can't explain it. Older men carry stillness, that calm, that masculine weight that can't be faked. Because you can't fake years of lessons learned in silence. You can't fake the peace that comes from being broken and rebuilt the right way. And in a generation where every man is trying to look confident online, the one who is confident offline feels like truth. It's not that younger men are less capable, it's that they're being raised in a system that's emotionally stimulated and spiritually empty. Social media made them believe that attention equals power, while older men learned that restraint is power. That's the polarity no one talks about anymore. The difference between a man who posts his value and a man who embodies it. When a younger woman dates an older man, what she's really doing is stepping out the algorithm. She's stepping into a timeline that feels human again. No filters, no pressure, no pretending. Because older men aren't competing, they're observing. They don't chase, they choose. And that quiet certainty is something today's dating world has forgotten how to teach. That's why these relationships trigger so much debate online. They challenge the modern idea that men and women are interchangeable. They prove that feminine energy still wants to feel led, not controlled, but guided. And that masculine energy still wants to protect, not dominate, but stabilize. Older men represent that balance. They've lived through chaos long enough to understand that peace is the ultimate luxury. And when a woman feels that, she's not thinking about his age. She's thinking about how, for the first time in years, she feels safe, being feminine again.
They see it as taboo for a woman to date an older man, even though many women are naturally attracted to us, the older guys. Or you can call them OGs like I do. What is it that makes us so attractive to these young women?
Attraction isn't random. It's written in our biology. And no matter how modern the world becomes, human wiring still whispers through every decision we make. Psychologists call it evolutionary preference. For thousands of years, women have been drawn to older men because age signaled survival. Experience meant stability, and stability meant safety. A 2017 study from the University of Dundee found that on average, women prefer men who are 5 years older, not for wealth alone, but for emotional maturity and confidence. Across cultures, more than 85% of society historically paired women with older men, from ancient tribes to modern cities, because age once meant protection and provision. A 2022 Pew Research report showed that nearly 63% of women under 30 say they struggle to find emotional mature men their age. That's not a small number. That's a crisis of polarity. Younger women aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for regulation, emotional stability in a generation addicted to reaction. And older men, simply by living longer, have practiced patience in ways that younger men haven't had to yet. Another stat, the average age gap in U.S. couples is 2.3 years, but 8% of marriages have a 10-year or larger gap. And those numbers have been quietly rising for the past decade, especially among women in their 20s dating men in their late 30s and 40s. Why? Because what was once considered security, a house, a career, now means something deeper. A man who can mentally protect her peace. The BBC Global Analysis on Age Gap Relationship revealed something fascinating. In countries with high social media use and low face-to-face connection, age gap relationships increased by almost 20% over the past 5 years. Because when dating becomes digital, emotional maturity becomes rare. And rarity is attractive.
Age gap dating, 12 out of 10 would recommend. You gotta get an older man, girl. When I'm thinking he out running the streets, he is. But you know what he doing in them streets? Running errands. The streets is errands, okay? The street is not the club. The street is not, okay? He is running errands. He going to the bank. He grown. He going to the grocery store. He asked me what I want for dinner.
From a psychological standpoint, women often align their emotional age with the man's maturity level, not his birth year. A study published in Evolutionary Behavioral Sciences found that younger women rate older men as attractive when those men display competence, confidence, and calm communication. That's the real science behind it. Competence is magnetic. It signals safety to the nervous system. A woman doesn't fall for an older man because of his age. She falls for the way her body feels around him. Her heart rate slows. Her voice softens. She feels secure enough to stop performing. That's not manipulation. That's biology, recognizing leadership. And men feel it too. When a younger woman looks at an older man with admiration instead of competition, he feels something he hasn't felt in years. Respect without resistance. That's what keeps these connections alive. Mutual exchange, not transaction. So yes, some of it is science, some of it is time, but most of it is energy. Because in a generation raised on dopamine hits and digital validation, stability has become the new thrill. And emotional maturity, that's the new luxury. That's why age gap attraction isn't fading, it's growing. Because the more chaotic the modern world becomes, the more valuable calmness feels. And older men, almost by design, have learned that the loudest man in a room isn't the most powerful. He's the least in control. When an older woman dates a younger man, the comments say, "Oh, you go, queen." When an older man dates a younger woman, they say, "Creep." Same age gap, different headline. That's not progress. That's performance. For decades, culture has celebrated women taking control of their love lives, but shamed men for doing the same exact thing. It's not about morality, it's about narrative. Because the moment a man benefits from a dynamic, society calls it predatory. The moment a woman benefits, they call it empowerment. But here's the irony. Both are responding to the same human psychology. Younger men are drawn to youth and admiration. Younger women are drawn to confidence, certainty. Those instincts didn't just appear last week. They've been here for thousands of years. A 2023 YouGot survey found that 70% of adults say age gap relationships are socially acceptable. Yet, nearly 60% still admit they judge a man more harshly than a woman in the same situation. Even when people claim open-mindedness, the bias shows up in tone, in headlines, in hashtags. And here's why that matters. Judgment changes behaviors. Younger men start hiding their insecurities instead of developing maturity. Older men start hiding their relationships instead of being proud of them. And women get caught in the middle, forced to explain emotions that are perfectly natural. The double standard is simple. When she seeks comfort, it's healing. When he offers it, it's manipulation. But if attraction is mutual and consent is real, what exactly are we condemning? The truth is, people aren't uncomfortable with age gaps. They're uncomfortable with polarities. Because they remind everyone that no matter how modern we become, men and women are still different by design. And deep down, those differences still work. Older men with younger women disrupt the algorithm. They remind people that masculine energy and feminine energy aren't enemies. They're complementary forces. That a man can lead without control, and a woman can surrender without losing herself. Maybe that's why it triggers so many opinions online, because every judgment is really a projection. Older women see what they once had, younger men see what they're still becoming, and everyone else sees a mirror reflecting what they secretly want, but can't admit.
They make women feel special and loved and adored in a way that I personally have never seen a guy my age.
That's the paradox. Society screams for equality, but still craves polarity. It celebrates independence, yet quietly misses intimacy. And that's why these connections, no matter how much they're judged, keep happening. Because biology doesn't need permission from culture. They can call it strange, unfair, or outdated, but every time she feels peace in his presence, the noise of the world starts to make a little less sense. Not every age gap relationship is a fairy tale. Some work because both people grew, others fail because one never does. Psychologist Dr. Elena Turon explains it like this. Age gap couples who share aligned values, emotional maturity, and mutual respect can be more stable than peers the same age because they consciously build rather than drift. And that's the secret. Age gap love fails when it's built on escape. She's running from a pain, he's running from time. But it lasts when it's built on exchange. She offers vitality, he offers wisdom. She reminds him how to live, he reminds her how to breathe. Still, the challenges are real. Family pressure, cultural judgment, future planning, kids, health, and energy. A 2019 Australian Institute of Family report showed that 40% of large gap couples struggle most not with romance, but with outside perception. Because love is easy when it's private, it's tested when it's public. But the couples who make it, they build boundaries stronger than opinions. They stop explaining themselves to people who never understand what it's like to find peace in someone's difference. And maybe that's the quiet truth no one admits online. Older men and younger women don't always last forever, but sometimes they remind each other what love is supposed to feel like before the world got too loud to hear it. Because at the end of it all, age doesn't decide connection, presence does. And peace will always be more attractive than potential. The older man isn't automatically wiser. He's just had more chances to fail and more time to learn what not to repeat. That's what gives him calm. That's what gives him gravity. And the younger woman? She isn't naive. She's just still open. She hasn't been hardened by disappointment long enough to call softness a weakness. That's what makes her radiant. That's what makes her free. So, when those two worlds meet, his calm and her curiosity, it creates something rare. Balance. He reminds her that peace is possible. She reminds him that life can still surprise him. It's not always forever. Sometimes it's just the right chapter at the right time. But every so often, it becomes something timeless. Two people who see beyond age, beyond judgment, and build a quiet world that only they can understand. Because deep down, this isn't a story about older men and younger women. It's about what everyone is searching for: peace, polarity, and presence. The thing that no screen can fake, no algorithm can teach, and no app can replace. And maybe that's the lesson hidden in all of this. You don't attract by pretending to be perfect. You attract by being anchored. The older man stopped performing. The younger woman stopped pretending. And in the silence between them, they both found something real. Because in the end, love doesn't care about numbers. It only recognizes energy. And no matter how modern the world becomes, peace will always feel like home. Do you think age matters? Or is it really about the kind of energy two people bring to each other's lives? Let me know in the comments.